Close your eyes for a second. Picture the city you live in, the hum of traffic, the smell of coffee, kids laughing, a dog barking somewhere down the street. Now imagine, you blink and it's gone. Not destroyed, not on fire, just empty. Every person on Earth, 7 billion of us, vanished in an instant. No warning, no explanation, no one left behind. The buildings are still there. The cars are still in the street. Your half-eaten breakfast is still on the table, but you're not. Nobody is. So what happens next? This isn't science fiction. Well, not entirely. Scientists, biologists, architects, and researchers have actually spent serious time asking this exact question. And what they found is both breathtaking and deeply unsettling, because it turns out the world doesn't fall apart without us. It heals, but not in the way you'd expect. Not gently, not slowly. The Earth moves fast, faster than we ever gave it credit for. And what happens in the hours, days, years, and centuries after humanity disappears tells us something uncomfortable about the world we've built and the mark we've left on it. This is the story of a world without us. And honestly, it's one of the most surprising stories you'll ever hear. Within the first few hours, maybe less, the lights start going out. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Our electrical grid is not automatic. It's maintained around the clock by real people making constant adjustments. Without those people, the system starts to fail almost immediately. Nuclear plants go into emergency shutdown mode. Coal and gas plants, starved of maintenance, start tripping offline. Within 24 to 48 hours, most of the world loses power, and that matters a lot, because the moment the power dies, everything that depended on it starts dying too. Water pumping stations go quiet. Treatment plants stop running. In major cities, the water pressure that pushes clean water into buildings, gone. Within days, taps run dry. But here's something that caught researchers completely off guard. Beneath New York City, there are massive tunnels constantly being pumped to keep the subway system from flooding. Those pumps run on electricity. Without them, the entire subway system, one of the most complex underground structures ever built, fills with water in just a few days. Decades of engineering, billions of dollars, swallowed by groundwater like it was never there. And this is just day one. Within weeks, something remarkable starts happening. Animals notice, not in a dramatic Hollywood sense. It's subtle at first. A coyote trots through an empty Chicago street. Deer wander into suburban neighborhoods in New Jersey. Mountain lions start appearing in places they haven't been seen in over a century. The silence is something animals haven't heard in a very long time. Without the noise of traffic and construction and machines running all day, the acoustic landscape of Earth changes almost overnight. Scientists believe many animals, especially birds, would experience something close to what we'd call relief. Migration patterns, disrupted for decades by artificial light, start correcting themselves within a single season. But it's not all peaceful. Pets, millions and millions of dogs and cats left behind. Most house cats survive reasonably well. They're instinctive hunters, but domestic dogs, particularly the small breeds we've selectively bred for centuries, many don't make it. The ones that do cluster into packs. Within a few generations, those packs start reverting. Not back to wolves exactly, but to something older, something wilder, and livestock. Cows, pigs, chickens, most of them confined in industrial farms, without anyone to feed them or open the gates. It's not a story with a happy ending. The few that escape, the ones lucky enough to be in open pastures, begin the long process of rewilding. Meanwhile, above the streets, in the abandoned towers of cities, Pigeons, hawks, and falcons move in. Office buildings become cliff faces. Skyscrapers become nesting grounds. The city doesn't die, it transforms. Give it a decade, maybe two, and the cities start to crack open, literally. See, roads and buildings aren't as permanent as we think. They require constant maintenance, sealing, repaving, reinforcing. Without that, water finds every microscopic gap. It freezes, it expands, year after year, and slowly, inexorably, the concrete crumbles. Trees, and this part is genuinely stunning. Trees start growing through buildings, not in a dramatic burst, just steadily. A crack in a foundation, a seed in the gutter, a sapling pushing through an asphalt parking lot. Within 50 years, cities like Atlanta, already surrounded by forest, would be nearly unrecognizable. The trees don't care about property lines. Chernobyl, the site of the 1986 nuclear disaster, has actually given us a real-life preview of this. Abandoned for decades, the exclusion zone has been reclaimed by wolves, lynxes, wild boar, and over 200 species of birds. The radiation didn't stop nature. We were more of an obstacle than the radiation. That hits different when you sit with it. By the 100-year mark, most wooden structures are gone, rotted away entirely. Steel and glass towers still stand, some of them, but they're draped in vegetation, their foundations compromised, their windows long shattered by thermal expansion. The skylines we know, barely ghosts of themselves. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Most people assume that our pollution, the CO2 we've pumped into the atmosphere for 2 centuries, would take thousands of years to clear. But scientists studying this were surprised to find something different. Within 25 years of humans disappearing, CO2 levels would start noticeably dropping. Not dramatically, but measurably. The forests absorbing carbon would grow larger, faster, and denser than at any point in recorded history. The oceans, fish populations, many of them critically depleted, would start recovering within a single decade. Some species, like the Atlantic cod, nearly fished to extinction, could see dramatic rebounds within 20 years. Here's the one that really floored the researchers: the Sahara Desert, one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. It's actually not as permanent as we think. About 6,000 years ago, it was green, lush, rivers ran through it. The reason it shifted to desert is complicated. Partly natural, partly tied to early human farming and overgrazing. Without humans, some climate models suggest that within 3,000 to 5,000 years, the Sahara could begin greening again. A desert the size of the United States, slowly turning into grassland and forest. The Earth doesn't forget what it used to be. But here's the part nobody talks about, the part that changes everything. There are approximately 440 active nuclear reactors on Earth right now. Without operators, they would go into automatic shutdown, most of them, and that part is actually fine. But spent nuclear fuel, the radioactive waste already sitting in cooling pools at these plants, that's another story. Those cooling pools require constant water circulation, pumps, electricity, people. Without them, within weeks, the water evaporates, the fuel rods overheat, and in the worst cases, not all but many, they catch fire or melt, releasing radiation. Not in an explosion, not like a bomb, but in a long, slow contamination that spreads through wind and water. Chernobyl times 440, spread across every continent for decades, maybe centuries. It wouldn't end life on Earth, Nature has proven, even at Chernobyl, that it can work around radiation in ways we never expected. But it would leave a scar, a long, slow, radioactive scar across the planet's recovery. And here's the real twist. The thing that keeps scientists up at night. The irony isn't that humans destroy the planet. The irony is that even after we're gone, we keep destroying it for a while. Our absence doesn't immediately fix everything because the systems we built, the ones designed to keep dangerous things contained, those systems need us to keep running. We didn't just change the world. We made the world dependent on our presence to stay safe. That's not a comforting thought, but it's an honest one. So what does all of this mean? Not that humans are the villains. That's too easy, too simple. We built things, remarkable things, things that have never existed in the history of this planet. Language, music, medicine, space travel, connection across continents. We fell in love. We mourned. We created beauty in places it had no reason to exist. But this thought experiment, this strange, haunting question, it holds up a mirror. It shows us that the Earth doesn't need us. Not even a little. It was here for 4.5 billion years before we arrived. It will be here long after the last skyscraper crumbles and the last road disappears under a forest floor. What we did to it, both the damage and the wonder, that was our chapter. A brief one in the grand story of this planet, and in 10,000 years, when some future species wanders across a strange layer of compressed plastic and concrete deep underground, a layer that doesn't match anything else in the geological record, they might wonder, who were they? What did they dream about? Why did they leave? And maybe, just maybe, they'll look at the world around them, green and alive and breathing, and they'll have their answer. We were here, and then we were gone, and the world, it kept going.